Hi, Bill Tabone here, co-founder of the Australian Paranormal Society and author of Ghosts of Airedale Asylum, and you're listening to Ghosts in the Valley podcast. Enjoy.
Hello, I'm your host Al Cooley, Ghost in the Valley podcast. Today we have a jam-packed show for you. I'm super stoked to have Ann Rudolph on the show tonight. On the second half of the show, you don't want to miss out. My exclusive interview with Ann. It's only taken me like years to get her on the show. She was an angel coming on and talking about what happened in our county, Trumbull County, Ohio, 1994. I remember like it was yesterday. The UFOs in our county were spotted on December 13th, 14th, and 15th of 1994. And in the first half of the show, I'm going to play uninterrupted the 911 tapes from the Liberty Police Department dispatch unit where Ann worked for quite a few years. A couple years back, I did a 3-part series on the Trumbull County UFO incident. And I kind of came down hard on Ann because of her not really taking these calls seriously. But I'm just as guilty because, thinking back on that time in 1994, a gentleman that I worked with came into work and he witnessed the UFO on 193 in Liberty, and it was flying about 30 feet off the ground. All 4 lanes of traffic from both directions were stopped, and it was almost at a standstill position, almost in the medium of the road, and everybody's cars shut off. He's looking at this thing, and there's no sound, nothing. He said it was about 50 yards, approximately 50 yards wide, very quiet, and very colorful lights. He said he couldn't remember the color of the lights because he was mesmerized. It sat there almost like for a minute. It just shot off straight up and out of sight. And we were like, Ann, oh yeah. Okay, Bob. What were you drinking before you came to work tonight? It was a midnight shift. Well, 5 years later, this incident was broadcast coast to coast radio with Art Bell. So it was kind of like swept under the rug and very quiet until it hit national attention. And then Ann, she was they're all celebrities, so to speak, on this UFO incident. What really fascinates me on this is all the law enforcement departments that chased this thing into Pennsylvania. Quite a few departments seen the UFO. For the first time, 28 years later, the original dispatcher, Ann Rudolph, on the show tonight. She'll be on the second part of the show. You don't want to miss this. The first part will be Ann talking to the people calling in on 911, the officers that have seen it, and even Ann going out with the patrol officer to look at the UFO herself. Wow. This is unreal to me. I'm like I said, I'm stoked for having her on. I can't wait to get into this. The 911 call that you're going to listen to, it's about 45 minutes long. And then we'll get into Ann that I just talked to a few days ago, right after these brief messages.
This is Dawn Fobbs, business development consultant, author, and co-host of the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast and shows. And you are listening to the Ghost in the Valley podcast.
As promised, here are the 911 tapes from 1994 with Ann Rudolph as a dispatcher for the Liberty Police Department.
County Dispatch, may I help you?
Yeah, did you get any reports of any chicks in the air about 15 minutes ago?
Somebody called in, but I really don't know what that would be.
Yeah, it was very strange.
Okay.
Looked like a back end of like one of them fighter planes, like a plane coming out the back.
Okay. Was it just like moving at a slow rate of speed?
It wasn't a slow rate, it was a fast rate, but it was coming down.
It was coming down?
Yeah.
Like straight an angle?
Like an angle.
At an angle?
Yep.
Okay.
It wasn't real big in the back.
Okay.
Plane.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll check with the Air Base in Vienna and see if they have any report of anything in the area.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. 996. We have a report by CC. Actually, 2 calls in of a vehicle in the sky. Unknown object above Sampson Drive. Have you noticed anything?
Really?
That's affirmative, sir.
What's the location?
The area of Sampson Drive. Sir, he just advised in the air, in the sky. He didn't advise direction.
Did he give you a description of the object? Okay.
Bob, I swear to God, 4 calls in on an unidentified object over Liberty.
4 calls.
4 calls on an unidentified flying object.
Why not take a look? All right, let's check it out.
You want me to call the Air Base and see if there's anything in the area? I'm stroking the hell out of this guy. Was it moving at a slower his speed? Did it get directly down? I'm gonna start a friggin' panic. You guys got freaking UFOs over there?
Spock.
Spock? Oh, you mean like Generation Star Trek thing? Smart ass. I'll tell them they're filming the sequel right here in Liberty. If you get abducted, who am I gonna call? OSP? He'll beam Toby out. I'd spit his ass so fast out of that friggin' I swear to God, this is our 4th or 5th call on it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
993 radio.
And any good?
Yeah, I'll be in the area in about just 30 seconds here.
Okay. To our knowledge, we've had 4 different calls, and this particular one came over Sampson.
On Sampson itself.
Yeah, they just said in the sky. That's all we have, in the sky.
Okay. Come out in the area.
On the area, checking for an object in the sky. Copy at 30 after.
County Dispatch, can I help you?
Yeah, dear, this is Stacy from 33. This is going to sound really dumb. I hear Liberty Police are in an area that I got a call about a little bit ago. A woman called, claimed she saw something in the sky.
Yeah, you called me a little while ago.
Okay, I hear they're out there and they've got another call.
Yeah, we finally got one on it somewhere.
What the woman told me was on Sampson Drive, like midway in the block, there's a vacant lot or something.
Hold on, I'll let you talk to the Liberty Dispatcher.
Okay.
County Dispatch, may I help you?
Hi, dear. This is Stacy from 33.
Hi, Stacy, how are you?
I got one of your...
Did you really?
This woman was almost...
Sorry.
She saw something. She told me that the area was like Sampson Drive. There's a vacant field midway through the block.
They're telling me this too, but it's probably some weather balloon or something. You know what I mean? They're checking the area, but these UFO calls are getting out of hand.
I don't know what it is.
If it was, what the hell did they come to Liberty for? There's no intelligent life in Liberty. Come on. We're telling everybody they're doing the sequel to what's that new Star Trek movie, Generation?
Bluish green, no noise.
No noise.
It was low flying and took off.
Oh, come on.
Fifth Avenue.
Are you serious? It's driving up Fifth Avenue Extension. Now, no, but... Oh, Christ.
Not driving. You're flying. It came down and just zooped over. It was a big, glowing object.
Well, we got 4 calls on it. The last guy said it was a fighter plane. So you tell me that I would do a big news story on the water in Liberty and the effects on the people, because these people are clearly afflicted. But I appreciate the tip. I'll let them know some more on it. I dispatched it because God only knows my luck. It would land here, abduct some people, and I would be in trouble for not dispatching.
I was impressed because I heard the way you dispatched it, and I said she's trying real hard not to break.
And I'm working with the biggest jokers on the force tonight, so it's real hard not to.
Lucky.
Well, if we do run into a UFO, I swear I will call you personally. Okay? We'll give you an exclusive. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Am I calling the Liberty Police?
What you need, ma'am?
I wonder, did you have anyone call you about a strange plane or airplane or something in the air?
Yeah, they're checking it out.
Yeah, I just saw it on Sampson Road.
Where?
On Sampson Drive.
Oh, okay.
I was coming down Sampson Drive. It looked like it was, I don't know what it was. It was a flying saucer or what it was. It wasn't an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It was not an airplane. It was down awfully low.
Are you the same lady that called Channel 33?
No.
Okay. All right.
You must have had other calls in on it, huh?
Yeah, not many, a couple.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
What does it look like, ma'am?
It was like almost like an iridescent color. It was like a bluish purple. It was like a long streak. It almost was like it had fire coming out of the back of it.
Okay.
Maybe it was, I don't know what it could have been. I know it wasn't an airplane.
Okay, ma'am, I'll let them know.
All right.
All right, bye.
And that ain't good.
Yeah, CC stopped me, said it appeared to be hovering about 50 feet off the ground, heading towards Bottom Hutch, and I'm going to be checking that area. It's supposed to be a large object with a lot of lights on it.
So I have another report on Sampson Drive, and also we've been advised by caller to the media. Media informed us it was a blue-green object hovering, no noise. It was in the area of 5th Avenue Extension.
I'll go that 5th Avenue Extension just came in.
This is just in now.
28.
And then it good.
See some lights. It's over 1 block from me. I'm going to try to get over there. I got to go down the street here. It's a large object, whatever it is.
925, do you want to head over to that area? Repeat your traffic.
Copy, I'm around. Where do you see that, though? I just got a glimpse of it. I could see, I'm on Sampson right now. I could see it heading by 5th Avenue on the other side. I could see some lights off in that area. Alright, 925 and 998.
96, can you repeat your traffic?
Area 5th Avenue Extension.
The area 5th Avenue Extension. 996, you advised that you don't see anything?
I could see, it was like a red pulsating light.
Okay, radio was advised to be blue and green.
I saw it was red. It was like a pulsating light. It looked like it was like to the bottom of the airplane, but it was real big.
Okay, we're trying to contact the airbase this time. Stand by.
I think there's a number for the tower.
890 Greenman.
Yeah, no more calls on this.
Last one in was when I advised last. Nobody's answering.
Yeah, Senator Traffic Control Tower.
Yes, sir. This is Ryan from Liberty Township Police Department in Youngstown, Ohio. We have a report of some flying object in our jurisdiction, in our area, above the Sampson Drive 5th Avenue Extension area. I could not give you any kind of traffic, direction that would help you know that area. Do you know of anything that should be in our airspace this time, close to the ground?
Right
This is not a prank phone call, I swear. You can call me back to verify.
Look at the radar scope and I go 60-mile diameter of Youngstown, and there is nothing out there.
Oh, shit.
Not even anything up high.
We've got five accounts, 5 calls in on this.
Yeah.
Something's flying in our area and it's low to the ground. Would you be able to monitor like a Cessna or something with a light on it?
Well, if it was, do you mean visibly?
No,
radar?
with the radar.
With the radar, it depends on how high it is and where they are. If it's low radar coverage,
Okay, now I get to go here and tell them something, and I don't want to say you couldn't find anything. Is there any clause I might use that it might be like a personal aircraft or something that might be used at night or something?
Could be, it could be anything. As far as any kind of helicopter traffic, anything down low, they don't have any kind of requirements to.
It made no noise.
They're coming into the airport here.
Okay, so you have no communications with helicopters. It could be something like that.
Yeah, it could be a helicopter.
Okay.
Helicopters particularly.
Okay. All right, I'm buying this 100%. But
Are you? Is that location anywhere near a hospital?
we are close to a hospital, but the location is away from. It's as low as they said it was to the ground. It would be approximately 5 miles away from the hospital. We're closer to that end of town. Is closer, out towards the Vienna line, Vienna Air Base area, and that's what I thought maybe it was related to.
Yeah, we haven't had anything going on. Nothing coming from that direction.
Okay.
It's been half an hour.
Then I'm gonna repeat. Okay.
Guys just go out here northbound, climbed up high, and nothing's going on around here.
Okay, I am going to advise you of this. You could take it and file it under G and in your garbage bin if you want to. We've got accounts of this. Hold on 1 second for me. Okay, I've got 4 to 6 calls. Hold on 1 second. At this time, I've had 4 to 6 calls come in about a lit object, well-lit object, blue-green lights, hovering above the area of Sampson Drive and 5th Avenue. The object was low to the ground, did not make any noise. there for some time and then continued moving down the Fifth Avenue Extension Road. My unit was out. He caught something he thought was red. Somebody described it as the end of a fighter pilot plane. I don't know what the hell kind of lines of continuum they're drawing here. I don't see any, but this is what I was advised of, so I wanted to call.
Okay, well, we don't, I have a, I was downstairs in the radar room. I would have a finder with some phone numbers. I have some 800 numbers as far as, identified flying object reports and things like that. If you wish, you can, 10 business hours tomorrow.
Like I said, I don't know.
I don't see anything out there, nothing on the radar scope. I haven't seen anything, and, we don't really do anything with the information.
Okay, I thought I'd pass along in case somebody was maybe flying without permission and, night flying or something like that. I didn't know what was going on, but as long as I've done my job so long, and I don't want to sound like a crackpot, but that's what we've got in so far. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
998 radio.
998, good.
I'm going to quit. I don't see anything right now. What I saw, I have no idea what I saw. It just might have been just a light up in the sky. I don't know. Be in service.
Copy. County dispatch.
Hi. It's Adam Hutchins Road and Sampson Drive out in Liberty.
Yes, ma'am.
I wonder if I heard on the scanner where they were looking for that big blue.
Right, ma'am.
Yeah, did they find anything yet?
Not yet. The dispatcher for Liberty Township right now, she's speaking with the air base to see if they have possibly something in the area at this time.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I heard on scanner. I thought it was one of the flying saucers since it wasn't very far from the ground.
Well, that's why she contacted them.
Did they call the news on that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I thought I heard in the scanner that they did, but they think it might be from the air base.
Right. Like I said, the Liberty dispatch is on the phone right now speaking with the air base.
And they think that's where it's from.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Bye-bye. We've contacted the FAA administration, and one, they've advised nothing on the radar scope within a 60-mile radius of Youngstown. They did advise they have no communication with any helicopters or any private-owned vehicles, air vehicles.
98, they're not aware of anything then, right?
Negative. He checked the radar and advised negative, nothing on radar within 60-mile radius of the Youngstown area. Again, he did verify they have no contact with any helicopter or private-owned vehicles that might be in the area. We are continually getting calls on this, so.
What's the area?
Still Sampson, Fifth Avenue.
We're right there. I don't see anything up in the air now. How long ago did these calls come in?
This just in within 2.
Back to the UFO, I saw it.
Did you really?
But if it was red, I don't know. These people saying it's blue. I pull up to this.
The county just saw it too.
Yeah, and he goes, hey, this thing's hovering right over Sodom Hutchins. It just came over my house, right? I said, are you serious? He goes, yeah, right? Then you tell me you got a report of it on Fifth Avenue Extension, right?
Yeah.
I'm right by Patty Metzinger's house, and I looked towards Fifth Avenue Extension. You could see a red glow up in the sky. It was huge. It was like huge.
See, but they're telling me blue-green because the media called. This woman was crying hysterically. She's like, oh my God. And she's screaming, and they're like, oh God. They call me. And I'm laughing it off because I can't, I'm not going to cause a panic. We don't.
I see this red.
No, because Toby, I swear to God, we got 7 to 8 calls on this UFO.
We're doing, they're scanning us.
No, I'm telling you what, they were coming in at the same time. They were coming at the same time.
Well, anyway, I see this.
And the county saw it. Somebody from the county saw it.
Really?
I think Pete Lusick saw it because he came across his channel and he goes, you see that big fucking thing in the sky with the lights? And first we thought they were making fun of us, but they went to another channel to do it because they didn't want to be on their mains.
Well, to me, I saw this big red, it was glowing in the sky.
Well, that's what the guy said. He said it looked like fighter pilot lights in the back of the tail of a bomber.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
And I said, well, maybe it's a weather balloon. Well, I called up, and Toby, I swear to you, I was laughing it off, and I thought, well, he's going to say weather balloon or something, but he says, no, I don't. He goes, we have nothing. He goes, we have, and he's trying to give me numbers to report it, and I'm saying no. I don't want any numbers. He was going, well, he goes, I don't have anything in a 16-mile radius of Youngstown. She goes, I'm looking at the radar right now.
Well, this thing wasn't more than about 50 feet off the ground.
Well, that's what I told him. I said, this is low to the ground. I said, you might not pick it up. I said, he goes, well, maybe it's a helicopter. I said, well, I heard from 4 people, something that low to the ground would be making a hell of a noise.
This thing wasn't making no noise.
I know.
Because I rolled down, when I saw the glow, I rolled down my window, I didn't hear a sound. The only sound I heard was my car.
Well, was it moving, or was it just...
Yeah, it was glowing. It was moving. You could see it like up in the air, glowing, and getting further away from me. That's why I had to go all the way down to Overbrook and cut over to get on 5th Avenue. So as soon as I turned on 5th Avenue, I didn't see it.
Did Bob see it?
No.
Did Steve see it?
No. I'm the only one that saw it.
There was about 10 other people in Liberty who were just swearing up and down they saw a UFO.
On the media probably or something.
Oh, they'll have a ball with it, because, they called already.
Well, what did they say? Did you guys locate anything?
Yeah, well, they're like, the people are serious. They're very upset. And I'm like, well, it's got to be a weather balloon or something. And I knew it wasn't a weather balloon because they, FAA would know about it.
Frosty said it was green and blue lights.
Well, no. The media said it was green and blue lights. It doesn't make any noise.
That's what I saw.
And I said, could it be like a weather balloon? He goes, no. He goes, these lights are incredibly bright. And he goes, and this thing's just hovering. It's not moving. And I said, well, maybe it's a private plane or something.
This thing, whatever it was, lit up. Literally lit up. You could stand, if you were underneath it, you could see it would be like daylight, but red light.
Well, I logged it. I know this is coming back up. I know everybody and their brother's going to be calling tomorrow. And I'm like, I logged it.
Did I saw it? Oh my God.
No, I didn't log you saw it.
They're going to be calling.
But you know what? They'll be pulling that tape. We're all going to get our asses shoved. You watch federal government will come on here and go, okay, we're going, little green men, Santa Claus, flying Christmas tree, all this shit on the channel. We're all going to get our asses in a grinder. Maybe I want So, I don't know. If it was a UFO, it's logged, But, you saw it. If you saw it. Well, what did you think it was? What did you really think it was?
I don't know. I didn't hear me. I came across it. So whatever it is, it's big.
But you know what? I know you play. You know what I mean? I know you joke around. That's what I said.
I wasn't joking. I was not joking.
For a minute, it didn't sound like you were. You were laughing, and then all of a sudden you weren't laughing. And I thought, well, maybe he's trying to make me think there's really this UFO there. And I was like, oh.
No, I wasn't joking. I saw the light. I saw a large red light up the false light.
Hold on 1 second. Howling guy, you think I'm a UFO expert? He wants to talk to me. You want me to let you go?
Yeah, all right. I'll talk to you then.
Okay, sweetheart. Take care. Bye-bye. County Dispatch, may I help you?
Yeah, this is Howling 433.
Hey, 433.
How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
Liberty was spotting earlier.
Oh, cut it out.
No, I'm serious. We've been watching it for about 10 minutes now.
Your ass.
No, I'm serious.
Man.
Go straight out your door.
Hold on.
I'm on Henhide.
Where's it at?
I'm on Henhide, okay?
Come get me. I want to go see this. Is it outside? Can I, see it from here?
Oh, you'll see it.
Here,
I can't
plug
believe
into me. All right, I'm going to go out and look at it now.
All right, if you're up high enough, it's straight east of you.
It's east of me?
Straight east of you. Look straight up.
Which way do I go when okay, I'm up.
You know where Kane Drive is across from the hospital?
Plug in for me. I'm going to go out. Liberty. Get Howland Liberty. I'm going to run out. Stay on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, I'm coming back. I'll tell you if I see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Mikey, do you got a copy or see it? Yeah, that thing has not moved in 10 minutes that I've been watching it. Come up on Henhide and start south off of Kings Grave if you're on Henhide. Come on down, you'll see me parked. I've been watching this thing through my binoculars. I can't quite make it out. It changes colors from white to red to green. Those are colors of planes, but the sucker has not moved. It hasn't gone any direction since I've been watching it. It's a good 10 minutes. It's an alien, all right. Prove it. Hello.
She went outside. She was back in a minute.
Okay. I couldn't believe it. I was just putting by my house, and I looked over, laughingly thinking, because we had one 2 weeks ago. And I looked over, and I said, oh, here's a plane coming in to land, because I'm used to seeing those. This thing has not moved in 10 minutes. And it's too bright and too low, and it changes colors to be a star.
It's an alien that came down to steal all our Christmas presents.
Yeah, I wish. Hang on
It's Santa Claus.
Go ahead, 429. Where you at? You see my car down on Henhide, about half to a quarter of a mile, somewhere there, down from Kings Grave. Okay, you get a pretty good view out here on Kings Grave. Okay, you see it? I got a perfect view where I'm at. I just can't quite make it out through my binoculars.
I got them in my heads up.
You go to 14? Right, I'm on public service too, so hang on, I'm trying to juggle mics. Okay, I'm on 14. You got a copy? Yeah, it looks like I'm getting pretty close here, but I can't really judge how far out it is, you know? Oh, I've been stationary since I called you. However long it took you to come from over on the west side, that bugger has not moved. Is that no, see it down over here just above the trees. Yeah. Okay, has it moved any? It looked like it might have flickered a little in that because it's moving slightly. Hey, just the binoculars. I would think the airbase could get a pretty good eye on it. Okay, Mikey's up here with me now. He's looking through the binocs. It looks like it might have moved just slightly because it moved from one side of a tree to another. But it's still visible right here where we're at.
Over around 11.
Well, I'm out here at
Around 11.
it's about the ridge already. Ridge at the airbase. You say you're at ridge at the airbase? Okay, it should be south of you, right?
UFO.
Looks like it's doing circles. Look like it's doing circles? Yeah. It's moving.
What area is it in?
Huh?
What area?
What area do you think it's in now? Hang on a minute. Okay, where you're at and where I'm at, I'm about half a mile south of Kings Grave on Hen Heights.
Half a mile south of Kings Grave.
It's still a little bit south of me, so where are you at as far as on Ridge Road?
You guys have to take P-tests and all that, Alan? Because we went outside, we didn't see anything.
I don't know, I got the down. Later, I'm not coming up on the meeting here.
They all see it. We were all on tonight. We didn't see it.
Okay, well, we're on Hen High north of Kane. Okay, there's a brand new house under construction, and we're watching it right through the empty field.
You're seeing it through the field?
Yeah, we're scared. All our cars
How big is it? What color is it? Because I got
it ranges from like a whitish red to pulsating greenish lavender.
Do you see any red? It was a whole red light. He said it looked like.
Well, from the distance, I mean, I can't tell. My binoculars are a cheap set of binoculars. I thought I saw some red. Let me check with Dave from his angle. Do you see red and green on it? Hey, Dave, from your angle,
I'll call the
do you see
airport.
pulsating red and green?
I'm telling you, we went outside. We didn't see anything.
Yeah, what?
I'm calling the airbase again.
Okay.
Hold on. Stay on the line.
I'd gladly come down, pick you up in the car, and bring you.
I want to see it. Come get me.
All right.
Come get me.
All right.
I'll be outside.
Okay.
All right. I need a break. He's going to take me to see it. I don't believe this. Where's the number I had before? Here it is. Come on, FAA. Yes, sir. This is Rain again from the center here in the 911 center. I called you about Liberty Township. The darn thing is in Howland Township now, and it's hovering over site. Do you show anything at all on your radar screen in the Warren area?
In Howland Township.
Howland Township.
That's hovering where?
Hovering over a hen hide in Howland Township, about 5 minutes here from the center.
Well,
They're seeing this. They're watching this thing. It goes 50 feet from the ground. There's blue and green lights. Some people say they see a red holding light. Hovers about 50 feet from the ground with no noise. We've had this all night.
Looking to the west. I don't see anything. I'm 70 feet in the air.
I'm going out to look for this right now. My unit's coming out there. Tell me when he's out here.
Okay, let me get a pair of binoculars. Let me call
Can you check that? Let me give you a number to contact, 675-2549.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
All right. I'm going to look at it now myself.
All right.
Bye.
Talking about the thing that looked like a UFO or whatever. Who was it? That was a joke. That was a joke. No, we've had. We know. That's what it was. We got 8 calls earlier. Yeah, Liberty was telling us about it. Yeah, and we got calls last night on it too. He told I said something to Pete. I said, yeah, it's probably all. How's the UFO going to be detected on radar when it's a self? I could only hear bits and pieces. Yeah, that's what we were saying. But yeah, we got like 8 calls on it earlier. But I told Pete, I said, think about it. For 40 years, you heard about UFOs, and they never had one on radar. They got to be self. Yep, exactly. I said, they'll never get them on radar. Yeah, who knows? Actually, Royanne called out to the airport to see if they were picking anything up, around the area, and they said they hadn't seen anything. But we got, if you get one call or something like that, you don't think anything of it. We got like 8 different calls from different people on it. So that's hard to say. The winter months, you see a lot more shooting stars because the sky's clear or something. Right. And with the cold, they drag on.
Right. And when I left station tonight, there was one good one to come down. I mean, it was way down, still way bright.
Huh.
And that's what he was just joking about that, because I told him I saw that shooting star.
Yeah. They're like, beam me up, Captain Kirk.
Yeah. So that's probably what they're saying.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'll make a note of that for whoever else comes out tomorrow, whatever. Maybe, hopefully, she won't start up again, but just in case.
Well, you might just want to keep a note of that registration in case the guys like the afternoon turn or somebody.
Right. County dispatch.
Yeah, is that a UFO they're looking for?
Huh?
Is that a UFO they're looking for?
Who's this?
This is Milltown to jail.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Seriously, we got like 8 calls on it earlier.
You gotta be shit.
No. Hey, Leslie, would you believe Leslie if she said yes?
No.
Isn't that a UFO that we got like 8 calls on earlier today and they're looking at it again? Leslie said yes.
That is be shit.
No, we got calls earlier tonight on it, and a couple different people, the officers said they saw it, and one of the Hound officers just said he saw it at King's Graves and Head High, hovering there for like 10 minutes. So who knows? It's pretty messed up. We got reports on some last night. We got reports on them tonight. So, okie-dokie. All quiet over there tonight?
Yeah.
You need to be over here where the interesting things happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go outside and take a look around.
Yeah, we went out from here and couldn't see it, but it's hard because there's a lot of lights, with I guess one of the Hound officers said it was like an area of Henhide and King's Graves, though, hovering there for like 10 minutes. A big blue. What was it supposed to be, Rick? Blue and green? Let me see what color it was. Hold on. Rick, what was it supposed to be? Blue and green? It's supposed to be blue and green, I guess. We called out to the air base earlier, and they said that they hadn't had anything on their radar. But if it's an area of Henhide and King's Graves, it would have to be showing up on their radar. If there was something there.
Don't they have any fighter jets out there? I'll let you go.
All righty. If I find out anything else, I'll call and let you know. All right.
Yeah, I got a visual on it.
I did.
You coming out this way? I'm gonna run up Old 82, run east on Old 82, because I got a visual on it down here by the S curve. Okay.
Yeah, I could see a large red, blue, and green light up in the sky. It's east. I'm on Liberty, going east, standby. If you get a better location. Palm Ravine, this thing's like going so fast. There's no way I can keep up with it. 998 the radio. That's fine. When I pulled on Liberty, you could see it in the distance. And as I got closer, it was stationary and it started moving. Which Liberty? Liberty off of Belmont. I don't see it now. I'm down on Logan now. So it's going that direction.
I'm moving east now on it.
Okay, I'm still stationary up here at the air base. Call the Air Force Base. See what they have going on.
I'm coming up to Belmont, and it's just still south of me. I think it's southeast.
That's affirmative. I was just looking at it through the binoculars. It looks like it has something protruding out the top of it.
Okay, you must have better binoculars than my side, because I couldn't quite make it out. I tried to stop on Belmont and see if I can get a better look at it.
Okay, does it seem like you're any closer to it?
Yeah, definitely closer than your location, because it's still south of me. It's southeast of Old 82.
Okay. Yeah?
It's all over the tracks now. Hover now.
See it now, too.
It looks like it's flickering more now, and it looks like it's running a little east of me now. I'm heading east on Old 82 from the center.
Okay, I got a pretty good view over here.
Something flickering and maybe a couple trees or clouds from my location, but I'm running dead east on it. Just slightly north of it.
Okay, I heard Liberty had some traffic, too, in regards to that.
Oh, we know they definitely saw something, because I know we're definitely seeing it.
It's extremely bright. I mean, it's really bright.
This thing is going pretty good. It's all the way into Liberty now. We're into the center.
I saw it real briefly. 998 to radio.
998.
On reporting sightings.
That's affirmative.
Hey, Walter, chase it back north. I want to see this thing. I think somehow it's glowing and how far it's visible, you should be able to see it. I'm going to head out to 305 and I'll see if I can get a glimpse of it from there. Okay. 2223 to control.
2223, go ahead. things on it. Okay, I got them both. I'm in the area of the county home. I got Howland, looks like it's in the area of Warner Road, and I got Liberty's, it looks like it's down near Hubbard. That's for. If you see it any close and can identify it, let us know. Affirmative. Go ahead. I'm past 84 Lumber, still eastbound. It's still just southeast of my location. Okay, it doesn't seem like it moved at all from where I'm at here. You were out there by yourself, or you guys follow anything that's documented in the observation also? Yeah, I'm at the air base. I had the security guard out here. He doesn't know what to make of it either. Do you want me to get a visual on it? Oh, yeah, we can see it from right here. 433 control. 433. You asked the Liberty dispatcher the outcome of the FAA inquiry. Last check at radar at the airport, they're advising they have nothing on their screens. They're probably not going to tell us if there's anything anyway, if it's anything to do with the military. No doubt. Another Hangar 7 happened here in Trumbull County.
It's in Brookfield now.
998 radio.
998.
Okay, we could see it from 62. It's a large light. I don't know if it's changing color. I can see red in it. It just seems to be hovering right now.
That's fine.
Good. 4 will up at the home. I'm going to go up in the tower. 10-4. 433. Did you hear anything from any of the Liberty units, maybe Youngstown? Every agency in the county's got a visual on it that I can hear. Right now, control's copying that it's somewhere in Brookfield Township, east of 84 Lumber on Warren Sharon Road. Got a unit at the old county home on Route 7 in Brookfield. Has a visual on it this time. Looks like it's going southeast. I'm almost to Brookfield 7 now to do a binocular observation, and there's definitely a structure there on 429, what you saw. I can see an upper structure off the main point of the lighting. Yeah, right. It almost looks like a little parachute hanging from it. Right, yeah, something with a different colored lighting to it. Yeah, right. 433, have you been looking at this thing through your binoculars? Used to get as close and get a good clear visual, do them with open binoculars, and I just stopped when you said it, Brookfield Center, about halfway through, so I looked at that object that you described on top of it. Yeah, okay. I'm running over towards Dewey to see if I can't go over that way, because I heard this topic about the old homes. Okay. What unit is that near Brookfield Center? Leave it alone. The UFOs avoid Cortland. It's another agency in the town, in the county. Okay. Is anybody close to that thing? Last seen it was southeast from 84 Lumber in that area. What's your calling you? If you come up on 46, you should be able to see it without any problems. I picked it up on North River Road. I have 305 and 11 sitting on the overpass. I don't see anything. I'm at Fowler Ridge. How high up are we talking here above the horizon? Not very far. If you're in the tree line, we'll probably block your view. Okay. Will I be able to see it from 11 if I go south on 11? Yeah, you should be able to. Where, in Area 82 or King Graves or where? Yeah, just look up towards King's Graves. Aim yourself right towards the air base. Alright, I'm going to take a shot down 11. 2223, check up. 2223, okay, I'm clear from the homes. I'm going to get closer to it. Okay, what's your last location? Repeat. What was your last location that you saw it? Where is it at right now? Right where you said it looks like it's right around here, 84 Lumber. I'm going to head down to 82, I'll advise. 10-4, give me a registration when you can. Yeah, we better get back. 58 radio.
998.
I don't know what this is. It's some large light in the sky. It seems to be changing colors once in a while. We tried to signal it. Head back. Out in Brookfield, wherever it is. I don't know. It's pretty far from us.
That's 459.
Hey, we got with this white light over top of the airbase? Yeah, that's probably it. The light isn't pulsating or anything. It just looks like a star or something up there. How far are you from the airbase? I was the airbase on 11. It's kind of like southeast of there. It looks to be rather high, though, not just over the tree line. Yeah, it's not much, probably. And stop out this way. You heard from Wally, or did he get beamed up? I don't know. I haven't heard. 432, what's your location? 433, check up. Control 433, check up.
don't worry, they probably won't keep him long. Control 433. Control to Howland 433. Control to Howland 433. Good. Their status. Get out, on our way back. Okay, 503. Told you it wasn't keeping. I believe I had a comment about making a loop run for the NATO wings. Like I said, even the UFOs won't go into Cortland. You got any visual one that was on from your vantage point? I went down to 82 to cross over north of 82 on 11, and the only thing I see is a white star out there. Ann and I were talking about it. Looks like either Jupiter or Ceres, the star. One of the two. Nothing moving, nothing pulsating. Okay. I try getting a little more rest during the day. Right. Yeah, after the decade of midnight, they're probably going to retro me over to another shit. I was going to say, there goes a claim for shift rotation for administration. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, Walt, I didn't see anything except the white light is kind of southeast of the airport. Okay. Keep driving, Walt. You'll find something. Steve Baker. Yeah. All right, I talked to these guys. Everything's all right. They're going to go back to where they came from. Who? Oh. I can see them. Did you see anything? I got them right here. I'm looking at them. What the hell is it? Hold on a second. I got to turn my lights on so I get rear-ended. Okay. Well, I can see them from Warner Road. They're sitting stationary. I got 3 of them. One is over, well, there, and then there's 2 kind of close together. What do they look like? Well, I'd like to say that they're just like flickering stars, except I've got 4 discernible colors. I got red, yellow, green, and blue, and the one just was like flashing. So if they're those planets those guys were talking about, then they're planets with Christmas lights on. You can see them? I can see them. Not like clear as day. I don't see any wings or anything to see them. But you see lights? Yeah. Unreal. Hold on a second. Unreal. What are you doing? That's what I mean. I mean, I can, without my binoculars, I can see red, yellow, green, and blue. Okay. I mean, they're way over there. They got to be way over in Cortland. No. Did you hear Cortland on the air? Yeah. The UFOs will come into Cortland. I can't believe it. He's killing me. So you're having an experience? No, because I can't see. I mean, they're so far away. They look like stars. They're just like. Well, the first calls we got from Liberty were they were like 50 feet above the ground. Yeah, well, they could be on their way home. All right. I think everyone else in this county should go home. Yeah, I'm about ready to. This is weird. I had a beat on them from the tower. They were close. They got to be going away because they were closer than this. Now I'm looking at them. Oh my God! What? And they're not a plane because here goes a plane, and I can see the plane and the plane's blinking red, and the fact that there's another plane. I think they're scrambling planes out of SATCOM 1 to go check them out. Wait a minute. What? Oh my God! I hope that's a plane. Oh, Jesus Christ, please be a plane. Oh, please. What is it? I ain't ready for this shit. Hold on. Little bitch, where'd you go? That's a plane. Oh, thank God. Well, I get nervous when they're coming right at me. There's 3 planes up there. I'll tell you what, they're flying from the Air Force Base. Really? Something's got to be. Oh, really? Yeah, hold on. I'm about to get you rolled again. Where are you? Right here. Wait, where are you? Warner Road, south of Merwin Chase. 4 up there now. There's 4 planes. Oh, okay. What the f? No, I mean, the other things are still there. All right, what are we doing with this now, Pete? I have no idea. Well, you know what? I can tell it's not in our airspace, so it ain't our call. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yes. The Air Force Base will get back to you about what this possibly could be. Negative. They advised did not show up on the radar. 2-5 go.
Oh, sure. Remember that from NASA down in Florida.
Negative, so we'll check for one.
98.
Good.
Reports from all these local police departments, right? On this.
That's affirmative. They're all recorded. 1.85. This may be some kind of celestial planet showing during a meteor shower.
Okay. Just earlier, when we had that earlier call, what I saw was a planet. It was close to the tree
tree lines came off a big red light. It was almost like it was daylight, but red outside.
Copy. We'll document that 549.
Sorry, dispatch.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, that thing with the Air Force Base and the radar, you remember ours last year?
No.
That we called the Air Force Base and they said, no, there's nothing going on. But then, I don't know who did it. They decided they called the National Weather thing, and the weather had it on their radar.
Don't ask me.
Well, you know, what I was just thinking, have you, like, who's ever, like, running the show out there? Who's, like, really into this?
No.
Maybe nobody is?
Who's ever running the show out here is, like, laughing at all you guys out there.
But that's because they're in a closed building and we're out here looking at this.
Okay.
Okay. But no, what I'm wondering is maybe somebody might want to give the National Weather people a call. Because they're not going to classify shit. They'll call and say, oh, this is where we saw something. Like they did to us last year. Hey, Pete, if you saw this, yeah, you'd be doing it too.
Really?
I'm serious.
Well, Jack said it's Venus.
Okay, well then there's 6 of them. Yeah, she's right about that meteor shower thing. Because when I was standing there, when I got off the phone with you, in 5 minutes, in this little space that I'm watching, there were 6 of them, whatever you call them, shooting star things. There's 6 of them, so they're there. But I don't know what it is, but
I just wish it was cloudy.
then we wouldn't see this.
Right, exactly.
Well, what gets me is, what was Liberty chasing then?
I have no idea.
Last time I heard, Venus really wasn't wanted anywhere, so had no reason to run from the police.
Negative 15s.
No 15s on Venus.
It's like my little get a registration when you can.
Yeah, get a registration when you can. I'll tell you what, I couldn't see him well enough from the radar tower. I climbed up there. Then the fact that my legs went numb. It's a bit too nippy to be climbing up that thing.
Yeah, it's a little chilly.
Well, I went up 3 flights and I thought, well, you know, as much as I like Star Trek, I don't like it this much.
Thank God.
I went back down. I think it's the Enterprise. Oh, well.
All right, man.
Hey, have fun.
Ciao.
Okay, dispatch, may I help you?
Hey, I got to look through this thing at a telescope.
Okay.
Okay, we were looking at it as a planet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but ironically, while everybody else was watching it, a couple of the Niles guys had a night vision scope. Some lady who says she lives in Liberty came up to them, they're down here on the strip,
Okay.
and asked them, are you guys tracking the UFO? And they looked at her and thought she was joking. She says, dead ass serious. She says the thing was in her backyard.
I'm telling you, I told you that woman said she was in her backyard.
Yeah.
She said, it was in my backyard, it was in the field, and she was having a fit about it. Would you please go from here, please?
So anyhow, she's telling them, and they said, well, is that what you saw? She turns around and looks at it. She goes, no. She goes, that's a planet. She goes, that's not what we saw.
This thing was red, and Toby said it was right near the ground. He said it lit up the sky.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, it was pretty far away from all of us. You know, we really can't make a good determination, but there's that chance, you know.
Well, for about the last 35 minutes, we've been tracking this with a telescope, and it's moving in a set arc, you know, which would be with the rotation.
Okay.
It's a planet. Which one, God only knows, but it's a planet. It's not a star.
Well, we were all excited.
Oh, I know I was too. I think
that's something.
It's definitely something else. Is, you know, whatever. You know, I don't dispute what the lady's saying, but just thought it was funny that somebody came all the way down into Niles, either on her way to work or whatever.
Yeah. So what the hell are you looking at now? That's not what I saw. No, Toby said you know, there's no way that he said that did not look like what he saw.
Okay.
I do not know, you know, if it was the distance or what the situation was. But if that's a planet, that's a planet. It's pretty damn low, but...
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, it was lower when we first saw it, and like I said, we've been sitting down here on the strip, just, you know, everybody's sitting still, not moving, and every so often we had to adjust the telescope, so it's moving, but it's arcing in a set pattern, so it looks like it's stationary, other than it's a little higher, and, you know, like where I'm at right now, I can see it where before I know I wouldn't have been, because I'm down here at the corners, you know, and that's even lower than the center, and I can see it now, so, oh well.
Okay.
All righty.
Thanks for calling.
Very many more calls on it?
No, nothing else.
Well, we'll probably all have a lot of answers today.
I'll tell you what. It's enough for me. Thanks for calling.
You take care.
Bye-bye.
What I found interesting about this, how it was described to be in the moon, Saturn, Venus, Jupiter, a shooting star, a meteor shower, a weather balloon, a helicopter, Star Wars sequel. It just blows my mind. And you have officers that are saying it's right above them. They're looking at it. Their officers are looking at it. It's right above them. Toby Maloro, he's right under it. Shot off his cruiser. Multiple police departments witnessed it. And yet it's still being looked at as a meteor shower, shooting stars, really? And I'll be right back with my conversation with Roy Ann Rudolph.
Hi, this is DC O'Rourke, paranormal investigator and host of Hauntingly Yours, a podcast for the paranormal, and you are listening to Ghost in the Valley podcast.
Well, today I have Roy Ann Rudolph Melick. She just got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And she was the dispatcher in my county, Trumbull County, Ohio, and Liberty Township on this night that we're going to talk about on December 14th, 1994, when their UFOs are spotted over the county, mainly over Liberty, and chased into Pennsylvania. So we're going to dig into her mind and her thoughts and and everything that went down that night. Welcome to the show, Roy Ann.
Well, thank you, Al.
As I said before the show started recording, I said, you're known as a UFO dispatcher, but you're so much more than that. I have to say, thank you for your service you do there. There's more than just that UFO night. Everything else is kind of like taken for granted, and I want to thank you for all the service you've done.
Well, thank you.
And also want to apologize too. I did a show a couple of years ago, and I was along with everybody else kind of thinking maybe you didn't take that serious that night on the UFOs over that, all the calls you were getting coming in, and I'm just as guilty. I'm looking back on that night on December 14th. I can remember this like yesterday. That's why I remember this night so well. And plus I had friends that work for the different departments.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine came in to work that night. You probably don't know these side stories, and he was like white as a ghost, and is talking about how he's seen this UFO over 193 in Liberty, going out of Liberty, and there was a truck in front of him to come to a stop, and he was trying to go run this truck, and this UFO was almost like 30 feet above the ground in front of the truck. So he was telling all of us that work this, and we're like, okay, Bob, what were you drinking tonight? Before you came to work. So I'm just as guilty, but I'm thinking back then, and what he was saying, that they got out of their truck, truck driver got out, he got out of his car because the thing was just like sitting there, and they never called it in because he didn't want to be labeled crazy or like a kook or anything. Right. So he was telling us about it, and he said, but the thing didn't have any sound. Like I know some of the 911 calls that I listened that you did that night, there was smoke or flames coming out the back, and he said he didn't see any of that. All he's seen was an object that didn't make any sound and was going very, very slow at a low altitude, and then it just like zipped out into the sky like 1,000 miles an hour, gone. And so you don't know about those instances. I'm sure there's a lot more that didn't call in. So let's go back to 1994, the best you can remember on these calls that came in. The first call that came in, what was you thinking?
I, like you did, I'm like, okay, somebody, we're by an air base. So you think, okay, we have a military installation nearby. You think something like that. And someone's excited, they saw lights and they're uncomfortable. You get it. But you also say, okay, just automatically you're like, don't jump off thinking there's UFO. You live by, an airport, an air base. These things are, or air installation units are at the Youngstown Air Base. And you want something that's manageable. You want something you can explain. If it is something bigger, we don't have anything that can handle it. I mean, there's nothing I can do for you. It did sound like I was being callous, and a lot of people said, it sounded like you were mocking people who were really terrorized by what they saw, or really terrified by what they saw, or overwhelmed by what they saw. And while I understand that, when you're a 911 dispatcher, when you're a police officer, when you're any of these things, everything you deal with are people who are overwhelmed. So you have to bring it down a little bit. And, okay, we'll deal with this. That's just kind of how you respond, because if you go and meet them at that same level of excitement, then you really don't seem to manage things quite as well. So yeah, the first couple callers kind of, okay, you saw some lights in the sky, you live by an airbase. So then it went on, and then eventually we got a call from the news channel, and I believe the dispatcher, the TV personality back then, I knew her name, Stacia Ertis, I think, was working at the time, and called in. And I had made some smarmy little comment, laughing about it, going, "Oh, come on, UFOs aren't going to come to Liberty." And she, we kind of joked about it. And then I thought, okay, now we're up to 4, 5 calls now. We have to do something with this. I'm like, I'm not going to be the one who sat on this. They teach you don't sit on calls. It's not for you to sit on them. But you do also have people who will call in and say some really obscure things, that, are like, okay, that's just not even possible. So I passed it on. I didn't think too much about it. And then we had, Toby, who I thought, of all the guys that were working that night, Toby was the one who could roll with it the best.
Uh-huh.
I just knew him. His personality is so, he's approachable. You can engage with Toby and not worry about a backlash. If he doesn't like the call you give him, he doesn't take it personal. Not that other officers do, but when you work with road units, who's more tolerant, who's going to handle people who are maybe a little more fragile than other people, or calls like that. So you kind of know that. So
you had a good repertoire with Toby.
Yeah. Toby and I have been friends forever. So, and it wasn't to say the other guys couldn't have handled it. It was just Toby has that kind of personality that he can roll with it and deal with people without offending them if it's not the answer they want. So that's why I selected Toby above everybody else to tell this to. And I told him over the phone, because I knew if this goes out over the air, this is just phone's going to light up like a Christmas tree with people jumping on board. So he called in and passed it along and thought that everything was going to, he was going to go see some lights and go, okay, they're aircraft carrier, blah, blah, blah. I'd already, I believe, I don't know, some point had contacted the airbase. And I spoke with somebody who answered the phone, and just very much like the conversation we're having now, it was very, the conversation was very genuine. There was nothing put on. It wasn't like I felt somebody was brushing me off or I was getting some kind of scripted response by anybody. This gentleman I spoke with was very receptive. We spoke, and he said, "No, I'm looking out. I don't see anything in the airspace above anywhere." So kind of let it go. And I passed along, no, they said there's nothing out there within so many feet, and reported that back to them, to Toby. And the next thing I knew, Toby had gone out with some people. He located a man and his dog who were telling him about the lights in the sky. And then I lost contact with Toby. If you follow the story, you might have been familiar with the fact that he claims that his portable radio, along with his mobile radio that's installed in the car, both failed for a while. And he said that he never heard any kind of transmission from me. And then we lost communication for a number of minutes with him. And then I started sending everyone else to look for him. And then he came back on a few minutes later, and he stated that he was quite startled, and he was taken back by this light that he saw, and he was overwhelmed. And so he said, "I need a few minutes for myself to get myself together, and then we'll talk." So then he called me. He contacted my cell phone. No, I don't believe he called he was in my landline, or the landline in the dispatch, because it was a recorded call. And he's like, "No, there were lights there." And then it was just, he was overwhelmed. He said, "Yeah, this shut everything, my radio down." I'm like, "Oh, you get out of here." No, I swear to you, Ryan, these lights were amazing.
Right. Yeah. I got the same story from a friend of mine who was with the Brookfield Police Department, and also Sharon.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, and they were the same way, that they lost total radio communication.
Right.
And their cruisers shut down.
Right.
And then the one from Brookfield, I didn't, because like you were saying, I think, one of your other interviews I listened to, that they were a bunch of, some of the guys are some characters, you work with on the police, they can play some jokes and then joke around with you.
Right.
because it can get kind of boring, on certain nights. I worked security guard for like 5 years.
Right.
And I know how boring that could be, and can say I have never seen a UFO, but I do know, like my friend I work with, and how he was not a UFO believer. And that night he says, I'm not saying it was from Mars or anywhere. I'm just saying that it's something I have never seen before.
Right.
And then when I was listening to your, I had the copy of the 911 tapes, and I think what really took off was when Art Bell put it on a Coast to Coast, because it was, was it? Do you think it was like swept under the rug for like 5 years until
we
that?
never, Al, we left that night and we thought, oh my God, this is gonna rock, and everybody's gonna be blown away. Nobody said one word about it for like 20 years, not a syllable. Nobody said boo about it. We thought, wow, and it was remarkable that night because all the units in the county, it wasn't exclusively like Brookfield. I was a police officer in Brookfield too. But I know, the guys that were working that night and, that had all been involved. I knew the Howland guys that were all watching it.
Right, there's quite a few people. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The county guys, there were Cortland officers at the time, several of the deputies. I mean, and this is from the entire county. And if you know this place, the setup of Trumbull County, it's set up in 5x5 mile parcels. So you're not typically going to see a lot of the same stuff. I mean, we can't all say we're looking at the same thing, but the lighting descriptions were different. The patterns were different, the descriptions. But these are all guys and women that I had worked with and respected. And they were not crackpots. They're not crazies. They're not, not that everybody else is. Please forgive me. I'm not alluding that anybody who sees these things are. But these are people that you work with that when they tell you something, you think their credibility is used so often to reference so much of what they do, and working alongside them, when you know who you can take word for word and who likes to stretch the truth or something like that. These were not people who joked around in the capacity when they went to tell you something. They used their credibility for it.
I was going to say, it's like not somebody calling and say, he's drinking moonshine out back, with his, these are police officers, that
they were working. Yeah,
right.
They were working.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, it had a level of seriousness to it, and it became not more authentic, but it had the tonation of the intonation of listening to. They were riveted. You're listening to people who go on calls all the time, be it, the barking dog call or the, hostage situation. I mean, it ranges from anything. Even though Trumbull County is not, Cabrini Green, you still have some serious things that go on. So you work with these people and you listen to, they're a little bit taken off by what they're watching. It wasn't being frivolously discussed. They were really watching it and they were sincerely intrigued by what they were seeing, and they see a lot of stuff.
I think one part of that, I listened to those tapes. Did you actually go out to see it?
Yeah, I did. We had a supervisor who was very cool, and I said, look, I haven't taken a break. I deserve a break after all this. And so I called up one of the Howland guys and I said, hey, how about you pick me up? I want to go see this too. And funny enough, we went to, if you're familiar with the area, the Double Bridge is down in Brookfield. And we got out of the car and he had binoculars and we're standing there looking at it. It was low to the ground. No sound. I mean, I didn't have glasses on that night. I wasn't driving and I left my glasses at the center, but what we saw, what was above us made no sound. And then like your friend had described, it zipped off. Like there's no craft that I know of that would do that. But then again, the government doesn't go, hey, Marianne, we just put the X-254 out and see how fast it is. So, I mean, I'm not, not trying to infer that, there's nothing. I saw something too. And what I saw is exactly what your friend said. It sat there quiet and you're listening, no helicopter noise. No, the flickering wasn't of a something that was trying to hold steady in the air. It was the motion was of the lights. That was just the rotation of the light and the pattern that it was going. It was nothing like Nothing like something that was just trying to stay suspended, but struggling with air or wind or something. That wasn't what I got from it anyway.
And that's exactly what Bob said, my friend, is that, what amazed him was there was no sound.
No sound.
Because you would think there would be something in that size of a craft, that there'd be some type of sound. And I, like your life went on without even thinking about it.
Right.
Same with work, we never talked about it for another 4 or 5 years until the Art Bell thing came out. I'm it's like, oh, this is a thing that Bob was talking about, and then I says, well, maybe he had something there, and when I went back to talk to him about, no, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you take a lot of ribbing when this stuff comes on. Every time I've participated in anything and just shared, I'm not saying I got in a craft and I ran away and, I got something implanted. I'm not taking it to that, to any kind of level where I'm saying I was part of anything more than, listening to what I heard on the calls and what Toby relayed his experiences were and what I saw with my own eyes.
Was it Toby that took you out to the craft?
No,
it was another officer.
Howland. Yeah, that was another department, a Howland unit, where our 911 center's on Howland.
Yeah, no, he was sitting there looking at it, and he says, "Can you come pick me up?"
Yeah,
and I knew that part, but I didn't know if you actually.
Yeah, he had a cruiser, and I was in Howland, and I said, "Hey, I want to see it too. Can you come get me?" And he goes, "Yeah, just run outside." And I jumped in, and we shot about 5 miles, 10 miles down the road, and we were in Brookfield and just jumped out for a second, saw it, and then it took off. And the funny part is their Brookfield officer that was working that night, he was at our county homes, the old base that's there. There was a structure that you could actually climb up on, and he was trying to look at it with binoculars from that. And the same time, if you correlate the times, when it shot off, he saw what we were seeing, and it would have been in his direction. So it kind of all matched us up. I mean, yeah.
Do you think there was more than one craft, or was it just one?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it was all over the place.
I saw one, but I honestly, the Cortland guys were saying they were seeing, this color and that color, and the county guys were Mecca and they're Mespo, and they're seeing this color and this color, and we're too far apart to be seeing the same thing, I would think. But could it be from where you're at? Could there be refraction of light sky? The thing about it was a cool night. It wasn't really, really too cold, but in the wintertime, there's always that kind of hush, like it's not as loud. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
it does. Yeah.
It just seems like it was more like the crispness that you could hear. There was an absence of noise, if that makes sense. It's just, you recognize it's like, it's such a clear sounding night. You weren't hearing it, and you expected that you would have heard like that whipping, turning sound of like the blades of copters or just anything. And it was just quiet, just really quiet.
Yeah, I was just thinking back on that time, and it jived with what the Brookfield was saying, and also with the other departments.
Right.
So my question is, was anybody told to say it was a weather balloon in the reports?
Nobody was told to, but I had said to the person I called at the airbase, I'm like, tell me it's a weather balloon. Tell me it's, I wanted to hear that he had some explanation. I mean, could it be a private craft? Could it be, are you like a drone? At the time, we didn't really have too many drones. Really, I don't think we even knew about drones so much back then. But I mean, could it be something that they were using the airbase? Could it be a weather balloon? Could it be a private craft? Could it be some kind of antenna? And he's saying, I see nothing.
Well, even with a drone that size, you would have some type of noise off that drone at that low altitude. I'm thinking you would, on a clear night like that. But it just kind of, what always astounded me after the fact was, like you said, you had the I think it was 33 News was calling in on it, and all the police officers and all the witnesses, and yet there was nothing put in the papers.
Nothing. And since that date, I worked for years. I was 30 years. I was out of Brookfield as an officer, and I would meet with people. People would come up to me and approach me, or people who knew about the incident. And so many people remember that night and will come up and go, I remember that night, and I was so-and-so, and I saw everything. And and how they were just really struck by it. And it was made a huge impression on these people. And I thought, wow, because the phones rang off the hook for that period of time, but nobody ever said boo again about it for decades. I'm not even exaggerating, decades. Nobody said a word.
Right. And I don't know if you had any calls the day before that, like December 13th. I was getting a lot of people contacting me after the fact that it was very active on December 13th. Also, actually, it was 13th, 14th, and 15th. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you knew anything about that.
No, I mean, I can't tell you what my work schedule was at the time, but I think I was full time there at the time. And like I said, you get a call every now and then about something odd, and you kind of go, oh, okay. And there are people who are like, hey, people change the slats on my bed while I'm sleeping every night. I'm not mocking anybody who has these issues in their home with family members. We deal with that. That's truly what your reality is when you're small town police, small town dispatch. You get, older ladies who are lonely, and they're like, well, I think
I live in Newton Falls, so I know what the the little town mentality is,
Right.
But
and they're wonderful people who are kind of like, hey, I'm kind of convinced that somebody's coming in my shed and changing all the nails, in my shed. And, you're like, I don't think they are. You kind of go, okay, well, we'll keep watching. And you try to not be disrespectful. But when these kind of things happen, occasionally you'll hear something, I saw something. Oh, okay, I'll pass it along. Or do you want somebody to call you? And you deal with it appropriately. This one went big scale, but I don't recall hearing it. And we even came back the next night and kind of thought, well, what's today going to bring, But I don't. And after that, it just kind of dropped off, like dropped off a cliff quiet as far as this.
And I've been doing so many of these things, like UFO crashes and sightings and abductions. And I'm thinking, and almost every single one, and I hate to use the word cover up, but it's like there has to be some other type of answer other than a weather balloon or a meteor.
Right.
I could see some nights, the atmosphere will play tricks on you. As far as like, seeing the Saturn or something, it looks like it moves, and it's just sitting there.
There were some people after the fact who said that's what you saw. You were looking at this planet, or, these gases were emitted by this place, and that would look like make the lights appear to this, at that level, and that atmosphere would have created this illusion for you. And so I'm not going to fight with you because I didn't do great in science, so I'm going to bet you have a lot more to say about it than I do. But I know what I saw.
That's like my friend from Sharon. I wouldn't. I just take his word and my friend's Bob's word. I take them for what they are, because I don't see them making that up. So, and I've always said, if it is ours, and it's not from the United States, we got a lot to worry about.
Right. Well,
or if it's outside, we have a lot to worry about, because it seems like it's always around military bases, or
right.
The one out in Portage County in '66, they made the First Encounters of the Third Kind movie about, and it was almost a similar situation where they chased the thing into Pennsylvania. And it's always the police officers, or you don't want to really come out and really talk too much about it, or even anybody really, because you are labeled as okay. Maybe you get put too many hours in or something.
This guy, this person, no, you see what everybody else can't see. How special are you? But no, it's you. I'm sure if you're out and you study these things, and this phenomena is something that intrigues you, you start learning more about the similarities of the movements, the lights, the things that, they were consistent. They were consistent from people who have a lot of credibility in my arena, and has a dog in a fight to say, hey, I'm trying to get on a TV show in 30 years that they'll make about this. It was nobody's angle. We were just like, let's stay awake till morning and hope that it's a quiet night. But it was not a quiet night there. So
yeah, and I've had some of those nights I was working security, and I was out at the Camp Garfield a few times, and I was always stuck out that air base. And I kept thinking, well, you got all these military here. Why can't they do their own security, And I would never see anything out there, but I had all these sightings that were coming into me later that you weren't there that night, that, well, I didn't see anything, you're one of the lucky ones that did see it, because I had a lot of people contacting me after the fact that they did see it and they didn't call in.
I had the same experience. So many people come up, I remember that exact night. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can answer my question as far as anybody tell you to put that in there, the government come in and squash the idea, or
nobody said, hey, get them to tell, to kibosh. I was telling you'll listen to it. I said, hey, tell me it's a weather balloon, tell me it's this, tell me it's that. I don't care what you tell me, but we can't say there's nothing because everyone's looking at something. But no, I was never told to go obtain any kind of response. It was just call them and see what they're saying. Call them and see, say, we're seeing this, do you see it? That was the only thing I had. And like I said, there was such a genuine honesty, and it was the same tone that we're using in our, just this genuine, I'm no reason to lie to you. Mm-hmm. This is the same tone. The guy was like, hey, no, I'm looking right now. There is nothing for within 500 miles. There's nothing 50 miles from where you're at, because there's nothing in this night sky at all. There's not one thing. And I was like, you're kidding, because everybody's seeing this. Why give me something to tell these people? And there's nothing. I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing there.
No, since that night, have you had anything quite like that?
As far as I'm no longer a dispatcher, or no, I just left Brookfield last year.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm an investigator with the county now, so it's a whole different bag of responsibilities, but definitely not at nighttime, and I'm definitely not riding in a cruiser looking at lights anymore. So that never come up for me again.
I see Toby's still working for Liberty.
Still the chief in Liberty for a minute. Yeah, he's still there, but we're all a lot older now. But in all honesty, it's been so intriguing how many people responded to it, and it's cool because there is a support for it. When we were mocked and really ridiculed for why would you even say anything? There was a good bit of support though that did come out from people who've had similar, hey, I saw something too, or that we did see something back whenever, and people want to share it, and you don't want to sound like, hey, I'm loopy, even something believes in, but no, I saw something.
Yeah, you're kind of like put in a no-win situation, because if you've seen it, you're goofy.
Right.
If you don't talk about it, you're covering it up.
Exactly. It's like, I didn't get offered a job from aliens or anything. I just saw what I saw. I heard what I heard. That's just what it was. But again, nobody cared a thing about it. That was as remarkable as hearing about it. It was such a big deal that night, and nobody made a sound about it for 20 years at least, So
before we get off here, what would you think it was?
I have to say, at my age, I've never seen anything before that night like it. I've seen lights or seen things that I thought, well, that's just kind of there or whatever. But I've never seen anything that moved, that stayed stationary like that without noise, and that moved the way it left. The way it left was something that I've never, ever, ever seen replicated, unless you watch TV and you've seen something with CGI on it. I've never seen anything like that.
And that's what Bob was saying, for as fast as it moved from point A to out of sight with no sound,
none,
was phenomenal.
And I'm not saying that, hey, if our government's capable of it, I don't think they should tell everybody about it. Keep it a secret, do what you got to do, make it work. But I've never seen anything replicate like that. We are by an air base, so are the possibilities there? They're absolutely possible. But you think if I still live within 10 miles of that air base, and I've never seen anything like it again. So
I do got to give you credit for coming on and sharing that, and you answered a few of my questions. Been trying to get you on the show, and I'm thankful you came on and gave your side of the story and what you did see. And the friends that you had on the department, that witnessed quite a bit of stuff. I imagine they see quite a few odd things every night, other than UFOs.
You see odd things, but you don't see that genre of odd things. You see a lot of odd things, but not that genre.
Exactly.
Cryptids or whatever. I participated in a show, and we went somewhere to film, and I spoke with some of the other people who appeared on the show. And one gentleman had an experience with Bigfoot. He came from Denver or something to that, Colorado. I don't know if it was somewhere in Colorado maybe or something like that. And it was, we were talking in it, and I felt like, wow, that's a story that I can't, wow, and I was sitting just as like open jawed, and he asked what mine was, and I think he thought I was like, I don't know if he just kind of brushed it off like, yeah, right. Like, what? Well, mine was tape. What was yours? Where was your tape at?
It doesn't really matter to me. Like, people use their spirit boxes
Mm-hmm.
and even if you play back what you just witnessed and heard,
Yeah.
people still don't believe you, So, it is a wide field, like, Bigfoot to little Fey people to everything,
If you would have seen what I've seen, it opened your mind up, like, to the possibilities of it. I can't think a universe as big as ours couldn't have something bigger going on. And I joked that night, because when I was joking with the reporter, she says, well, these women, they're watching this and they're beside themselves, so upset because these UFOs are just hanging above their house. And I said, why would UFOs come to Liberty? There's no intelligent life in Liberty. And I bought a house here to prove it, right? I watched it later on. I said, you're not going to put that in the show? And they're like, no, we won't. And boom, they played it. And I'm like, oh, my house is going to be on fire in about 10 minutes. But the experience is yours, just like people who see other cryptids have experiences like this, or it's yours, and the intensity of it you get to keep. It doesn't go well in relay, and I certainly never, when I do share it, it's never a one-up you story. I mean, everyone's experience is their own. I'm not a liar. I've never sought anyone to seek people have come to me for the story. I've never said, hey, let me tell you about this.
Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the time you've shared with me, and I appreciate you making it so easy to talk about this, and felt like anybody was thinking I was a kook or exploiting something that happened. And
this shows what it was all about. I have so many different people with different paranormal stories that are different fields, and they can come on and express, to me, to other people out there that experience the same situation.
Right.
I'm sure there's so many people out there that experienced like what you did. My wife and I went to Kecksburg last month to see the crash site where the UFO crashed in '65.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking to the people in that town, and it's like, the same stories I keep hearing everywhere, in my opinion, too, is like to cover up from what they took out of that area. But then I have a friend of mine who also is affiliated with the Patterson Air Force Base,
Right,
who tells me that you don't need to know everything. It's some things are not to be
shared.
Could you imagine the crisis this country went through on COVID when we had a lack of toilet paper?
Yeah,
Now,
right.
Could you imagine what happens if they say we have beings from another dimension coming to our galaxy or whatever? It would be chaos.
Overwhelming. It is overwhelming. And when the calls were coming in that night, there's a part of you that says, you realize, if this is true, we're not prepared to do anything about it. We're going to be right with you. There's nothing that Liberty's holding back. Is like their big, go get that secret how to deal with UFO book. There's nothing coming like that. And I'll be honest with you, through the years after this has come out, there's been nothing additional. There was no one like, the thing you didn't know. There's been none of that. And you would think after 20 years, if there was something that was available in the way of information, somebody would have passed it along. But
you were saying about you work at 911 at Liberty Police Department. I was just curious, with the other police departments, like say Howland or Gerard or all the local other departments, if what they were dispatching back to their dispatcher.
Well, we were all in the same room, and we could hear them. That was that night. You had the capability of listening to all the different frequencies, and that's what we
okay.
So while I'm listening to Howland, I also have the county dispatcher nearby, and she's expressing, hey, my guys are seeing X, Y, and Z here. They were, and that was what made it weird. If that would have happened 15 years before, when we were all in our PSAPs, our own little departments, nobody would have had that. But the fact that we were all in the same room, and in the phones were lighting up, and people are like, Liberty line 5, Liberty line 8, Liberty line 4, and you're like, can't take all of them at once, so you guys are going to have to help out. So everybody was involved in it.
Yes, you had a pretty wide area that you're working with,
Yeah.
What that came down was, the guest on Art Bell that night who actually stumbled upon the little township of Liberty that you live in, because he was looking at Liberty, Ohio, down by Dayton.
Oh, yeah, that's how they found it. The wrong Liberty.
Right, it was wrong Liberty. He was looking for a UFO crash site.
Right.
And then he stumbled upon this, and he says, "Oh, wait a minute." Then you guys took off on the map on, from your own little town,
And it to me and to Toby, I speak for both of us when I say it's not sensational anymore for us because, we've talked about it, never repeated it. So, I mean, it's kind of come and pass and it was a neat experience, but you will never believe it's the same renewed interest with every company that calls it just stumbles upon. It's like, this happened 20 years ago. This is not like we're not talking about last Tuesday. This is quite a while ago.
Right. In 2 more years, it'll be 30 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. But yeah, we were so at the time it was really wild that night. But after that night, I'll be honest with you, kind of became like, oh, that's an old hat,
It's kind of weird. To me, it would be news to print if all these people's calling in for a UFO sighting and the Vindicators there or Channel 33.
Not a word, not a syllable.
That cover-up came into play when nothing was said and nobody could talk about it.
Right.
Thank you for coming on. And I really enjoyed talking to you.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed it as well. And I really appreciate you giving me time and not making me feel like I was going to say something that was going to embarrass myself. So you take care. And I appreciate the time you spent with me tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Royanne, for coming on. And looking back on 28 years ago, I still think there's a lot of questions that aren't answered. And you just listened to the 911 tapes from that night on December 14th, 1994. All the different departments that were calling in, radioing in what they seen. The newspapers were there, TV crew, yet nothing was printed or released of that incident. Then or since then, there's still a lot of questions to be answered. But I want to thank Royanne for sharing her side of the story. As far as she knows, there was no cover-up, but hopefully someday they will start releasing some information of all these UFO crashes and sightings and abductions to the public. I'm your host, Al Cooley. Come back next week when my guest has been abducted at least 60 times out of Yorkshire, UK. Ghosts in the Valley podcast.